Money FM 89.3, the best of the afternoon update. The afternoon update with Lin Li Fu.
Money FM 89.3, that's right, it's Lin Li with you this afternoon. Now, the payments landscape has been building on the rapid growth in electronic payments and the advent of new and disruptive market players. The emerging markets are at the forefront of this payments transformation, and today we'll be looking at the emerging markets in the field of payments, specifically in Asia, which are constantly innovating from using low-cost mobile money for remittances to enabling differentiated banks for financial inclusion. So what are the latest trends driving the growth of cross-border payments in the region? For more, we speak with Nagesh Devata, Senior Vice President of Asia at Payoneer, an American fintech company providing services to the world's small and medium-sized businesses to transact, do business, and grow. Welcome, Nagesh. Great to have you on Industry Insight.
Great to be here, Lin Li. Thank you.
Nagesh, you're in the business of providing digital payment solutions to small and medium-sized businesses. You have vast experience in the payments industry, specifically in merchant development and cross-border transactions. So Payoneer, as I've read, saw a 31% revenue growth last year in Asia and the Pacific to the tune of $187 million, according to a financial report. I think this growth was attributed to more people in the Philippines having adopted e-commerce. So from where you stand, how would you describe the current state of digital payments ecosystem in Asia?
Well, Asia, I would say it's a tremendous region, market opportunity. And of course, just diverse as we all know it, with lots of different variations in the region. But I think the best way to think about Asia is the mindset and the DNA of small businesses, SMEs, SMBs, and very much sort of the growth driver of all the economies in Asia. Mm-hmm. And as that growth driver really is being able to take their unique skills, whether it's a physical good or a service, and being able to find and connect customers globally and being able to bring that product or service to someone globally and finding new customers around the world. And that's really where Payoneer sits into this ecosystem, is enabling that global commerce.
Okay. So, there's so much happening in the world now. How are macroeconomic factors, things like currency fluctuations, geopolitical shifts, inflation, how are these impacting payment behaviors in this region?
Well, you're absolutely right. There's lots of change and lots of changes in global trends, changes in trade policies, regulations are all definitely things we're all observing. Mm-hmm. This is the reality. I think if I step back and we look at the types of businesses we serve and the segment we serve, so first, they're very diversified. They're diversified across the geographies in Asia Pacific. That's one. Trade routes are different. They're providing goods and services. And that in itself, I think, is what we do see with small businesses is really, first of all, they're global, they're complex, and they're underserved. And they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and really being able to provide them the tools to be able to manage cross-border financial operations and being able to scale globally is, what we see. And small businesses really are, they're really clever, they're smart, they're resilient, despite all these challenges. And this is where we feel like from where Payoneer sits is our ability to be able to empower them, where sometimes the reality is traditional banks are not able to give them the speed, the agility, the transparency that they need to be able to operate in this really, really complex environment that even become much more complex now, as we've all seen.
Yeah, you're talking about the speed. We often hear about slow settlement times and high transaction fees, foreign exchange complexities. So could you elaborate on how Payoneer addressed such issues?
One example would be Payoneer provides virtual receiving accounts to our customers to be able to receive funds in many major currencies around the world, effectively eliminating the need for intermediaries, challenges of setting up a bank in another country, reducing their FX risk, and being able to just move faster when it comes to receiving monies or getting paid, or when they have to pay somebody else. And I think this was sort of evident in what we saw in 2024, just looking at our own performance. We saw a real, sizable growth where SMEs were embracing fintechs like us as a way to streamline payments, improve their cash flow, and leverage, different types of technologies to, as their business becomes more complex and they're dealing with many different types of currencies and, really trying to operate on a more global basis.
In many parts of Asia, financial inclusion is still a major issue. So how can digital payments help SMEs, freelancers, and gig workers access global opportunities?
I think that's one of the most exciting pieces of when you think about, the fintech space and financial services organizations like Payoneer. And if we take it maybe as just an example, and you mentioned gig workers. So gig workers, and I think earlier you mentioned the Philippines as an example. So gig workers start off in platforms, major platforms around the world like marketplaces. And they start off by providing a job or they do a service. But aspirationally, of course, all these gig workers don't just want to stop there. They start to evolve from an individual to becoming a small business to becoming a large business. And their reach in terms of a market and where they can provide their services is not limited to the home country that they operate. In this case, let's talk about the Philippines. Their reach is about providing services to people all over Asia and, of course, all over the world. So whether they're providing services to somebody in the Philippines or providing service to someone in Singapore or to someone in the U.S. And it's through that we're able to help these entrepreneurs take that first step and connect with somebody. And that can be a pretty daunting step because you're like, how do I do this? Where do I go? Traditional may not be the right channel for me. And this is where someone like Payoneer helps and is able to connect them and say, I can help you get into the U.S. I can help you. You want to collect funds in the U.S. You want to collect them quickly. You want to collect them fast, and you want to be able to get them back into your home market. We're able to provide them those connections, and we're able to provide them the connections back to their home market as well.
All right, you talk about gig economy, and I'm just thinking about gig economy payments as well as remittances. Any thoughts around how they will evolve with new digital payment solutions?
I would like to believe that the gig economy workers, and we see this from our own experience, the gig economy workers really do scale. And they scale, and I have the opportunity to meet with these types of individuals that have become companies and very successful companies and really start to figure out where they can take their services. So when we think about it also in the context of sort of all the geopolitical trends that we're seeing, that gig economy worker, which could become a gig SME, if we want to call that, is no longer just thinking, do I provide services to the U.S.? Maybe I'm providing services to Australia, Singapore, and so on. And really, they're building a full-fledged business. And the key to them is they don't operate in the traditional sense of thinking about their traditional bank. They're really thinking about complexity. Their customers are not just in one market. Their customers are coming from multiple markets. They're dealing with different types of currencies. They're trying to manage FX. And again, they're really trying to operate as a global business while still tapping into the tools, the platforms that can help them, reach these markets in a way that doesn't have to be their core business to know payments. They can rely on somebody else who knows payments, and they can focus on what they do well, providing services or providing a professional service as a gig worker and maybe someone who becomes more than a gig worker.
Wow. If you've just joined us, we've been speaking with Nagesh Devata, Senior Vice President of Asia at American fintech company Payoneer. Nagesh, looking at it from a macro perspective, what kind of risks do global players like Payoneer face when investing and tapping opportunities in emerging markets in Asia?
I think there's a lot of challenges, of course, as we know, with the sort of the global macro trends. What I would say from Payoneer's perspective and why we always think about our business is, first of all, we're very diversified. Diversification across geographies, being able to help our customers, which are SMBs, think about different corridors or different trade routes, think about, the types of products they can offer. And we know that these businesses are also very smart. I think it also comes back to the way SMEs operate. They're very, very creative. They're very proactive. They're trying to also diversify, who their suppliers are, who their markets are, and they're trying to spread their risk as well. And I would say it's consistent with the way we think about the world. We serve emerging markets around the world. And of course, Asia being, very much sort of that central region from an emerging market perspective is we see lots of new trade corridors popping up. Customers are looking for different places to reach new markets. They're thinking about different supply chains. They're thinking about reducing their dependency in certain ways. And I do think that's a big positive of how the SMEs are evolving and the way they're starting to think about their business not being solely dependent on one geography or one market. And similarly, I think that's sort of where Payoneer sits is our business is really diversified. We operate in 190 countries around the world, and having that scale, those connections is what makes sense for the SMB.
All right, definitely lots of positive developments happening in this space. Nagesh, can you share any recent success stories of businesses that might have benefited from Payoneer's services in this region?
Absolutely. We see a lot of different needs. Maybe I'll start with the needs. So we see SMBs, first of all, who are trying to receive funds and get paid for jobs that they do around the world. So we see our customers, they'll go set up virtual receiving accounts around the world. That's sort of one aspect, but then they're paying for their suppliers. We help our SMEs with products like a payment card to be able to go pay their suppliers, to go be able to pay workers. We've enhanced that with other products like lending and also now payroll management. And a lot of this is based on the fact that we see our SMEs in the way they're going global. But just to kind of maybe bring it to a few examples, we talked about the gig economy type, BPO in the Philippines. We see gaming and app developers in Vietnam. We see IT outsourcing companies in India. All of these businesses are really trying to grow. And what we see as a sign of success is not just their business growing, but is the way they're moving around the world. So we see these businesses, they'll set up an operation in Singapore. They'll set up an operation in Hong Kong, in Dubai, in the US. And it's our ability to help them navigate that. And we do see as they are able to bring in more customers or increase their skills, that's probably the best success or the best thing we can see. And customers are constantly, our SMEs are constantly trying to find new markets to be able to sell their goods, whether it's a good or physical services. And we see that. And I think at least the way we see it is if we look at our 2024 results, definitely we saw that as a success, in particular in B2B as well.
Okay. Concurrently, we're also seeing the rapid advancements of technology. I'm talking about blockchain, AI, and machine learning.
Yeah.
So where are we at, in this region?
In terms of, we've definitely seen the increased use of blockchain, AI, automation, and payment processing, and we think these will definitely continue to drive, the overall evolution of the business for both fintechs and SMEs. For SMEs, again, it's just definitely we're seeing them embrace these types of technologies to be smarter about the way they can communicate to a customer, the way they can sell to a customer. But it is a balance. I would say it's not completely where people are just saying, hey, I can just, drop everything that I used to do from a traditional perspective and just shift everything to AI. And we do see that where businesses continue to have the need to have a physical person to help them open up a new market, to really also to have a certain degree of trust. And I would say that in the world of SMEs, think of it this way. They're payers, they're receivers, there's customers, there's financial institutions. And really, these are all sort of an ecosystem of partners. And trust is really key in this space. And I always like to think about it is because now when we're talking about cross-border, we're not talking about a domestic use case. We're not talking about cross-border, and really building that trust and having that sort of virtual handshake is absolutely critical for someone to say, you know what? I know the guy in the Philippines, and I'm comfortable with the guy in the Philippines, and I'm comfortable sending a payment, and I trust the platform that they're using. So a lot of this, I do think, is where trust and relationships still are very critical to complementing any level of technology, whether it be a blockchain, AI, or any new level of automation.
Wonderful. So what's next for Payoneer in Asia? Any expansion plans, partnerships, or innovations that you can let us in on?
Sure. Happy to. I think the most recent one and the one we're also very excited about is an area around workforce management, something that we've entered into late last year to be able to provide payroll management and a payroll solution. So as you think about businesses looking to expand and that first step to expansion, there are a lot of markets out there, but you don't know those markets. You don't have a physical team on the ground, or you don't necessarily want to invest right away in those markets. And being able to provide or a solution to allow businesses to go and place people on the ground through a payroll management service or solution is one of the things we see. We saw this trend through COVID. We continue to see this trend as well now as you start to see more and more businesses go global, and especially in Asia. We see brands going global. We see exporters going global. And, that's the exciting piece, I think, with Asia is, again, you see the emergence of lots of homegrown brands. You see the emergence of great products coming out of Asia. And now it's how do you take those to new markets? And this is where we're quite excited about a new solution that we just launched towards the end of last year around workforce management in providing SMEs with this tool to be able to now bring in the idea of how do you bring in people, how do you bring in talent into new markets as they scale.
Thank you so much. Fantastic insights into the field of payments, specifically in the emerging markets. Nagesh Devata, Senior Vice President of Asia at Payoneer, an American fintech company providing services to SMEs. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily.
To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.